What's up, YouTube family? This video is about Ketanji Brown Jackson, the new nominee, and how they use our struggle to push their agenda, and we fall for it every time. This lady literally is fighting against kids. She's fighting for pedophiles. She wants to get the sex offender list taken off. She wants to change the laws and make it less, less harsh. She wants to take away the mandatory minimum for child predators, basically meaning like ain't gonna get no time. And she's probably fighting to push pedophilia as a mental illness. Because if you don't know this by now, that's the whole goal. The whole goal is to say having sex with kids, being a pedophile is a mental illness. Kind of like when you DUI, you go take a drug class. That's what's coming next. When you have sex with kids, you go take a mental assessment class. After you pass the mental assessment class, there will be no consequences. You're free to go rape any kids you want to go rape, and that's where the future's heading. But they use our struggle to push this kind of garbage. Because you put a black person up there and they're like, oh, you can't question them. Oh, you're just racist. Or you're a sellout. You're going against a black woman. So nobody's questioning what she's doing. Nobody's questioning what kind of mind frame she has. And I see black people celebrating her. I get why they're doing it. They think, oh, hard black woman. I'm going to be a hard black woman one day. Work hard to get a high position. Ooh, that's great. But what they don't understand is that she is for the elites. She's not for black people. Whenever you see the elites choose a black person and put them up there, they're not going to fight for you. They're fighting for these white people at the top. And not only that, they're pushing shit that's going to be going against you. They pushing agendas that's going to be going against your kids. And you thinking, oh, this and that, oh, we good, we got a black person in the Supreme Court. She ain't gonna do nothing for you. She ain't gonna do nothing for none of us. And it's crazy how we don't see this. Obama did the same thing. Kamala Harris did the same thing. She said, oh, she can't do nothing just for black people, but yet she goes signs a bill with Biden for the Asians, just for the Asians, protect the Asians. And it's crazy at this point, but she is a deep state operative. She is going to push agendas like the Green New Deal, immigration ties into child trafficking. If you don't know that, most kids come over the border because kids that come over the border don't have nobody looking for them. Once they get to America, nobody's looking for them. They long gone. Once you could sell them, kill them. Nobody's gonna be looking for them. You still kids down here. Everybody's gonna be looking for them. The family's gonna be looking for them. Brothers, sisters, friends. But you don't gotta worry about that when you get them over the border. That's why the border is so important to them. That's why they want to open the borders, because they all involved in child trafficking. They all working together to push the same agendas. And she is their puppet. See, we need to get somebody in high position that's for black people. That's gonna do right by us. That's gonna push shit that matter to us. Not white elites, not fighting for kids. Nobody in the black community wants to fight against kids, fight for pedophiles. Nobody. If you're in the black community and you a part of that and you raping kids, touching kids, the whole black community looks down on you. So why are we not looking down on her? Why is she getting a pass? You gotta do your research when it comes to black people that get put in high positions, because most of them are not for us. They fighting against us. She got a video of her talking about how, it's too harsh. The laws are too harsh on kids. Hold on, I'm about to play it.
As you said, the guideline was based originally on a statutory scheme and on directives, specific directives by Congress at a time in which more serious child pornography offenders were identified based on the volume, based on the number of photographs that they received in the mail. And that made total sense before, when we didn't have the internet, when we didn't have distribution. But the way that the guideline is now structured, based on that set of circumstances, is leading to extreme disparities in the system because it's so easy for people to get volumes of this kind of material now by computers. So it's not doing the work of differentiating who is a more serious offender in the way that it used to. So the commission has taken that into account, and perhaps even more importantly, courts are adjusting their sentences in order to account for the changed circumstances.
As you can see, she is fighting for pedophiles. This is not exaggeration. This is not slander. This ain't nothing to make her look bad, because usually that is something that happens. Black people get in high positions and people, white people at the top, slander them, say lies about them, say anything to make them look bad. But usually it's either exaggeration or a plain out loud, something that happened a long time ago that they're not doing currently. She is currently still fighting for pedophiles. She is currently still saying that pedophiles are treated unfairly. She's saying we need to have more kindness towards pedophiles. She is saying that we need to help pedophiles. Basically, the pedophiles are the victims and the victims are not the victims. And she's gonna make it more easier for your kids to get raped. And that's crazy. People celebrating her, they're not really looking into her. People saying, oh no, they're lying about her. They're just saying anything to make her look bad. She's telling you in front of her face. And when Josh, the senator, is asking her questions about her cases, she doesn't deny none of them. She confirms that, yes, I gave them lighter sentences. She doesn't deny none of them.
Prosecutor in this case, it's a liberal administration, I think it's fair to say. This isn't the state of Texas. See my colleague from Texas next to me here. The prosecutor in this case, nevertheless, still asked for 2 full years in prison. You gave the defendant 3 months. Guidelines called for 10 years. Prosecutor wanted at least 2. You gave him 3 months. And when you did, you made a number of arguments and statements in the record, and I'd like to go through some of them because I've read them all. And the first argument you made was that the federal guidelines that punished child porn offenders, the ones that Congress wrote, were, and I'm quoting you now, are in many ways outdated. That's your quote. And you went on to say about why you thought they were outdated. I'm going to quote you again. You say, and I quote, I don't feel that it's appropriate to increase the penalty on the basis of the number of images or prepubescent victims, meaning little kids, as the guidelines require, because these circumstances exist in many cases, if not most, and don't signal an especially heinous or egregious child pornography offense, end quote. I just want to ask you about that because I just have to tell you I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. We're talking about 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. He's got images of these, the government said added up to over 600 images, gobs of video footage of these children, but you say this does not signal a heinous or egregious child pornography offense. Help me understand that. What word would you use if it's not heinous or egregious? How would you describe it?
Thank you, Senator, for letting me address the concern that you've put forward based on the record that you've reviewed. As a judge who is a mom and has been tasked with the responsibility of actually reviewing the evidence that you would not describe in polite company, the evidence that you are pointing to, discussing, addressing in this context is evidence that I have seen in my role as a judge. And it is heinous. It is egregious. What a judge has to do is determine how to sentence defendants proportionately consistent with the elements that the statutes include with the requirements that Congress has set forward.
Wow. Supposed to give him 10 years. The guideline said 10 years. She gave him 3 months. And there's multiple cases. There's like 10 cases where she gave them the lowest as possible, the minimum. She gave him the lowest she could give him. In other cases that they had, she was forced to give him a certain amount of time. She couldn't give him lower than that because she'll try to, people will try to be, oh, what about this person? Like, she was forced. She couldn't go lower than that one. She couldn't go lower than the time she gave. But these cases, she had more discretion, meaning she had more leeway. She could go lower, and that's exactly what she did. Why? Because she's pushing the agendas. She's pushing the elite's agenda. She's fighting for the elites, not black people. And as you can see, she doesn't deny her history of giving child pedophiles lower sentences than they deserve. She doesn't deny giving child pedophiles the lowest possible sentences. So all the people talking about, oh, nah, they're just making stuff about her. They're making stuff up about her. No, they're not making stuff up about her. She's saying out her own mouth that this is who she is. And then she was like, oh, what's a woman? No, they asked her they asked her to define a woman. She said she didn't know what a woman was. She said, what's a woman? Like, it's crazy at this point. But we have to start doing research on people in high positions, their history, and make sure they're for the group. Make sure they're for black people. Because if we don't, we're going to keep getting finessed, and finessed like we always been getting for the past hundreds of years. Same finesse over and over again, just remixed. And it really breaks my heart when I see people don't do research. They celebrating because they don't know what they celebrating. That's why ignorance is the root of all evil, not money. Ignorance. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can find yourself supporting evil stuff like this. An evil woman. She's an evil woman. If you're fighting for pedophiles, you're an evil woman. There's no sugarcoating that. She's evil. And she is gonna be anonymous. She gonna get nominated. She got all the powerful people behind her. She gonna get the position. Nobody can stop her. That's how she got in that position in the first place. She worked hard, but not only worked hard, she got help from deep state elite individuals, and they told her, do this, do that, push this, push that, and we're gonna get you all the way to the top.